to the David Mammano Show. I am David. Feel free to call me Dave. So excited to have you here today. All our viewers and listeners love having you as part of the community. We're trying to help, innovators, entrepreneurs, achievers, just grow and get inspired to move to the next level with everything from great content, inspiration, resources. And today I have on the show somebody who really encompasses all of those things in one great package. His name is Andrew Goldner. Andrew, welcome to the David Mammano Show.
Thank you, Dave. I am grateful to be here. I appreciate the opportunity to have a conversation with you, and thank you for the audience for taking time to be here.
Well, this show is, and thank you for your time too. I know you're massively busy. We've been trying to schedule this on and off for a few months, so grateful for you doing this. And for those of you that don't know Andrew is running GrowthX, which you're going to learn more about. But if anybody is thinking about learning, growing, getting funded, for their startup, Andrew's the guy. He's full of great energy and resources. And I met him probably 6 months ago now, here in Rochester when he was visiting the Goldner Institute for Business and Entrepreneurship. Every Wednesday morning, they have a great speaker, and Andrew was a great speaker. And I felt a very kindred spirit with you telling your story. If I remember correctly, you were a paper boy growing up, right? And then
you remember that correctly.
Yeah, and so was I. And then you got into the publishing industry like I did as well. So I'm like, I got to talk to this guy afterwards. Super nice, humble guy. But I want to definitely hear about your journey and how you help people. But maybe first and foremost, you could tell people, what is GrowthX and how do you use GrowthX as a tool to help startups and businesses grow to that next level?
Yeah. So, put simply, we help B2B tech founders get to market and improve sales. At the end of the day, it's about increasing revenue. And we do that as a unique way to identify compelling investment opportunities.
I love that. I love that you were so specific about improving sales, because so many startups will raise money, and then they run out of money and they're like, oh, we don't have enough sales to sustain ourselves, right? And so you're nailing that right from the start. Like, we need to create revenue because this startup money is going to run out, right?
Well, the best people to raise money from are your customers.
I love that.
They don't ask for board seats. They don't want your equity. They just want to help. They just want to get help.
People don't realize at the end of the day, investors, they want their money back, and they want it back 4, 10 times or even more, right? And it's nice to get the money, but you're going to have to pay it back.
Times are also changing. It's very different than it has been for the last decade. Investors in tech startups kind of lost their way, I think, over the last decade, and stopped paying attention to revenue and paid only attention to growth, unbalanced growth, unprofitable growth at all cost. And it was a lot of inefficient use of capital. And it made sense during the zero interest rate policy time, I guess. But the reality is balanced growth, profitability and growth is important. And it's not about just figuring stuff out on the fly. You don't want to build the airplane as you're taking off, especially when so many people have been there and done that before that you can learn from. Why not just execute, best of class?
Yeah. So give us, if you don't mind, you don't have to name any names or companies, but give us kind of an example of a typical engagement. So a company starts to work with you and you start to work with a company. What does that look like?
Well, for us, where it always starts is just helping. We are all over the place, literally over 60 different rising tech cities in North America, putting ourselves out there to meet B2B founders and just be helpful to them with sales. Where we learn about each other and we want to do something more formal than simply an episodic conversation where we can dip in and help, we run a 16-week program, which is just expert sales coaching. And again, our ulterior motive is identifying business opportunities to invest in. I like to joke that for my investors, I've sold them the only form of legal insider trading in America. And that's what we built. When we're inside of companies, helping them solve their toughest sales challenges and increase their revenue dramatically, and doing it, by the way, on purpose and systematically. we just generate an enormous amount of insights about the team and about the market opportunity. And to me, and to GrowthX, and to those that invest with us, that's a whole lot more reliable than pitch decks, data rooms, and demo days. And so our 16-week sales program, which we call the Revenue Accelerator, although it bears no resemblance to really any other accelerator program in the world, is the most formal way that we really dig in and roll up our sleeves and help. And again, because we have our ulterior motive, which is finding investment opportunities, we heavily subsidize the cost of it. And so it's a very small fraction of the cost of what 16 weeks of professional sales coaching would be.
Yeah, it's a very unique strategy. So you will never just go and just blindly, well, I don't say blindly, but you'll just never just go and invest in a company based on the pitch deck or based on the founder's story. Like, it sounds like you're getting in first to help them with the sales strategy, make sure that they can and do make sales. And then you're like, hey, something's here. We've helped build it. We see the future. Now we're going to invest. Is that a great way to say it?
That's right. First we help, then we invest, together we rise.
I like that. Is that your tagline right there? I like it.
It is. Those three simple words mean everything to us. Together we rise. It really is a part and parcel to everything that we do and how we do it. It's not just about the expertise we have, having done this for over 500 companies across 20 different tech sectors. We like to think it's the way we go about it too. We really invest ourselves in the people and building healthy, long-term, sustainable relationships.
Is this a very unique approach? I haven't heard about it before. I just know companies, VC, angels.
It is. It is. When we founded GrowthX in 2015 in California, it was unique. I would say, to be honest, it's highly differentiated now, but it is not unique. I'm glad to see that more people have followed, and not just with sales. Right? There's a lot of real help that founders need to get to where they want to go, and this misnomer that the journey of the entrepreneur is meant to be traveled alone, or that only the people that can convince you through hubris that they know everything are the ones that should be invested in, is something that not only do I think has proven out not to work in Silicon Valley, but it certainly doesn't work in the rising cities like I was raised in Cleveland, or where you live in Rochester, or the other places that we're privileged to be a part of the community. It is certainly highly differentiated, even to this day. And again, we know that it's very different than most investors, but we think it's pretty simple to understand, and we can't imagine doing it any other way.
How do you look for companies? Companies come to you, kind of a mix?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a mix. I mean, we have most of the companies that come into our orbit and that ultimately end up either coming into our Scale Studio, which is a year-long monthly thing, or our 16-week sales coaching program, are referred to us. And either they're referred to us from the people who have gone through the program, because birds of a feather flock together. They come to us through other investors who want us to help diligence their pipeline or make their portfolio companies more valuable. But they also come, and by the way, Tom Golisano and Grand Oaks and the Golisano Institute are examples of that. And then third, they come from economic development agencies that understand that to fuel their economy forward, they have to harness innovation and entrepreneurship and want to do it in a real way. And they need to fill what they call the commercialization gap, which is this idea that people can build products, they just don't know how to commercialize or sell them. And so examples of that would be the state of Indiana, the country of Canada, and others who will refer their B2B tech startups to us, and also either subsidize or entirely pay for the opportunity for them to take advantage of our sales coaching because of the help that we provide. And then fourthly, it's the other accelerator programs that are graduating founders into a demo day, but who are not capable of talking with customers. And so the notion there is together our founders will go farther. This race is a relay, and many of these accelerators run their leg of the race well, but it doesn't mean that they're running every leg of the race equally as well. And so there needs to be someone there to take the baton, lest it get dropped, And so a lot of accelerators will also refer and pay for companies to get our sales help.
So, I wish you were around in 1995 when I started my first company, because it seemed like it would be almost like a continuation of my education, and if it worked out, funding, right? It's an incredible opportunity, and it's a 16-week program, your core program. Do they, I know you're in Nashville. Do they come to Nashville for this, or is this remote?
It's a virtual program. It's been remote since we launched in 2015. We didn't just react to COVID. Mm-hmm. We've always had the worldview that founders shouldn't have to leave their great homes and their great communities and their friends and their family in order to move to the most expensive rat race in America just so they could be close to their capitalist. When we founded this in California, that was very much our worldview. And so we were virtual from day one. We've never required founders to leave their home and come to California. And so we're good at it. But we're primarily good at it because we love it. This is our passion. And it's because, I'll get on my soapbox, so you'll have to rein me down. But
go crazy.
The number one reason why companies are failing is they can't sell. It's not that they can't build their product, but there is no profession of sales. You can get a computer science degree, but I dare you to find a single credit-bearing course on sales at your college or university. There are enormous amounts of resources that have been built over the last 20 years to help product developers be more efficient, and also to help non-technical founders become product builders through low code, no code, and now AI. But none of the same rigor has gone into helping founders go to market as it has in helping them go to product. And so it's no surprise that it's literally empirically the number one reason why founders fail is the failure to find product market fit. And in California, that might be the subject of a polite cocktail party conversation, but in Rochester, it's people's lives. It's the economy, it's economic mobility, it's job creation. And so it's not something to just kind of politely laugh at. Imagine if broad swaths of the Rochester public were dying of the common cold, and we weren't doing anything about it other than kind of politely talking about it at a cocktail party. And that's what it's like for the founders. 90% of them fail. And the number one reason why is they don't know how to sell. It's because we're not engaging them and helping them and empowering them to do these things. And so that's our kind of our raison d'etre, if you will.
I completely agree with you. And it's been a topic of discussion with a lot of business leaders that I know, like, why not a sales major, right, at a college? Right? I know a friend of mine who's a very successful, he's actually friends with Tom Golisano, and tried to have a sales major created at the Rochester Institute of Technology. And for some reason, it didn't happen. Now that I know the Golisano Institute has classes in sales, which is super fantastic. But it's kind of like, I just saw a video the other day of this woman who's a doctor, and she was complaining about her Stanford education because she's a doctor, but she never got trained on how to help people stay healthy in the first place, right? It's all about, like, fixing them after they're sick, and so it's almost similar. Like, I want to start a business, but you need to do that pre-work of knowing how to sell first, right? And
that's exactly
people are like,
right.
well, I'm not a salesperson. Everyone is selling in a company.
If you're a founder, right? If you're a founder, you're a salesperson.
Right. Yeah.
They're the same person. And listen, we bring all the preconceived notions about sales to the conversation. We're scared of it. We don't know how to do it. We think it kind of is beneath us. Some founders think their product is so innovative it even sells itself, which is kind of the attitude of a lot of AI founders nowadays. And certainly during a boom gold rush, that might be the case. But every pioneering town also has snake oil salesmen. It doesn't mean they should stick around.
Right.
And so, we wonder the same thing, which is why there was such a strong connection to the Golisano Institute for Business and Entrepreneurship, and why I think just personally Ian and I hit it off because we share that worldview that you do as well. Ian Mortimer, who runs the Institute, but just their mission. I mean, what brought GrowthX and the Institute so quickly, so closely was we have a shared worldview. and a very deep belief in the same mission, which is a practical, tactical education that doesn't overwhelm people from a cost or time perspective, and actually prepares them to actually get a job, participate in the economy, and take care of their families. It's just as simple as that. And sales is something that, at the end of the day, it's not dog food until a dog eats it. And so I wonder the same thing, why more people aren't learning to sell. But this has been our mission for a decade. Like I said, we've been privileged to help over 500 companies, and we love it. We never tire of it. I love being extremely busy, working with so many different types of B2B founders and helping them. Well,
I love the fact. So, you said you started. It's been 10 years, right? So you're celebrating your 10-year anniversary coming up.
Yeah, in June.
In June, you're still full of, we'll say, piss and vinegar, right? You're still full of passion.
I got plenty of piss and vinegar. For those that know me, that's an endless amount.
Oh, when I saw you speak, your energy was contagious. I definitely wanted to meet you, and
thank you.
And I'm glad that you were. A lot of times you see somebody speak, and then you meet them afterwards. You're a little disappointed, but you were even better when I just was talking to you. So thank you for that.
Well, that's very kind of you. Thank you, Dave. I appreciate that.
Very authentic. I appreciate that. And just so if anybody's wondering, what the heck is the Golisano Institute for Business and Entrepreneurship? So we're here in Rochester, New York. You probably have heard of Paychex, which was the first mover back in the 70s to handle payroll for small and medium-sized companies. Most of the other companies were handling, Fortune 1000 companies, et cetera. Tom Golisano, our local to Rochester, started it. He's since then become a massively successful, billionaire, investing in many, many companies, doing very well, very philanthropic as well, hospitals, et cetera, helping hundreds of nonprofits, an amazing person. And he had this idea to rethink education, and he started a 2-year school that is first of all, it's very affordable. It's $8,900 a year for tuition, and even with that, there's scholarships, et cetera. And it is solely focused on business and entrepreneurship. You're not going to have a course on Ralph Waldo Emerson. You're not going to have a course on sociology. It's very super hyper focused on learning business and entrepreneurship. And it, there's an incredible speaker every Wednesday like you, CEOs, leaders, et cetera. They just had an entrepreneur fair there where the students starting businesses had booths, and people showed up and they got to, sell their business and products, which was exciting. So many innovative, incredible things there. And I'm involved to some extent. I just showed up one day because I love it. And through osmosis, I'm not an official employee, but I taught the Young Entrepreneurs Academy program. I'm mentoring some students. They actually gave me an office because I think I was hanging around so much because I love the place. And
the place
we're
to
talking
put your
about
coat.
Yep, and then I had to buy the vest here too. So yeah,
yeah. And the thing I would, even though this is not meant to be an advertisement for the institute, I have to tell you that I would layer in that the business and entrepreneurship that you learn at the institute is very different than most 4-year colleges and universities. It is extraordinarily practical and tactical.
Yes,
it is absolutely hands-on, which is why we're in the building helping not only expose the students to the real world of entrepreneurship and what it's like to actually commercialize a product, but in the building with their professors and their staff helping to imbibe the curriculum with a practicum.
Yeah, it's very, very real world skills. Thank you for saying that. These students.
That's it.
I mean, this woman that I know at admissions there, she went to a very, prestigious 4-year university. And she's like, I didn't meet one CEO during my 4 years at the university. And she's like, here at Golisano, students are meeting a new CEO leader every Wednesday morning. Someone comes in and giving a talk, right? And how incredible is that for learning, networking, public speaking skills, like meeting these people, et cetera. So I guess it kind of has turned into an advertisement, but that's okay.
Well, and it's the demand is there for this institute to be in every rising city in America. And my hope is that they get there.
Yeah, very much so. And what's nice about it too is there's students from all over the country. It's not just for Rochester. I think one of the first students enrolled was from Chicago. But I'm so glad you're involved. That's how we met. So GrowthX, if people want to learn more, I mean, it seems like, if I was a young starting business, I would go to your website, right, growthx.com, and I would apply. And then if I get accepted, I feel like I'm going to go through your program and get almost like a SWAT team of people helping me with skills, resources, et cetera.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, what I would say is, you go to growthx.com. First of all, get a sense of who we are as people and why we do what we do and how we do what we do, and make sure it's a good fit for who you are. Don't subjugate your priorities for hours. This has got to be a good, healthy, long-term, sustainable fit. And then invite us to be the people that you hope and need us to be in order for us to deserve to be a part of your life. And it doesn't necessarily mean applying. That's transactional. What it means is take advantage of the resources we have available on our site to show off who we are and how we can help you. And then reach out to us. And again, invite us to be who we say we are. The promise of experience, our brand, means that we want to help. So reach out and don't share your pitch deck. Tell us a specific sales problem you're having, and let's find time for a Zoom visit together so we can dig in and begin helping you and begin, establishing a relationship. If that leads to us helping you through our program, great. But we'd like to think that the worst case scenario anybody has with their experience with GrowthX is that we've helped you.
Yeah, they've at least learned a little bit in the beginning there. Yeah, so that's fantastic.
That's it.
What was the genesis of this? So in 2014, 15, was this kind of an idea that you're like, no one's doing it this way?
Yeah, I mean, so I think as a culmination of, in many ways, where I started out my career, back in the mid 90s, to the point that I had the idea for GrowthX. Having been a corporate lawyer when the internet was first commercializing, and being, even as a lawyer, just being a very revenue minded, being very business minded. My degree was in finance. I went on to law school, but having the business acumen and the business mind to be a good commercial lawyer and stay close to revenue, and as lawyer, as counselor, help early stage tech companies in the 90s close revenue deals. And through that, just seeing so many different experiences, having so many different cycles. And so transitioning that into a business career, doing it overseas, and through that, just opening up my aperture, looking a little more broadly, a little more open-mindedly, being a little more understanding of differences and relate to people in a different way. Add to that, becoming publisher of Reuters News, which is the chief commercial officer. And again, just continue to be representative of the voice of the customer so that we don't get too caught up on our products, features, and functions, and not forget the problems that we serve, the problems that we're solving, and the people that we are serving. And then, coming back from many, many years overseas and coming to Silicon Valley and wanting to get back to the early stage where, let's say, I had been as a lawyer for companies such as Salesforce when they were founded, Alta Vista, Priceline, Yahoo, and then joining DoubleClick leading up to the Google acquisition, really wanting to get to that early stage again. And frankly, part of it, having been publisher of Reuters News and having the blessing of the journalists kind of really helping me understand how to think about things differently and gather them differently and analyze them differently, combine that with the training I got as a corporate lawyer, and just notice, just be open to notice. And of course, being an entrepreneur at heart, I was always throwing pebbles anyway, no matter what job I had. I was always trying to throw pebbles, always trying to question, never being satisfied well, that's just the way things are done. And I think you take all that into a petri dish, and there I am on the Caltrain riding from Palo Alto to San Francisco to see a company one day in 2013, 2014. And all of a sudden, I just realized something startling. And that is, if you know how to build products and you start a company, they call you a founder. But if you know how to sell products and you start a company, they call you a non-technical founder. And it's not meant as a compliment.
Mm-hmm.
And that shocked me because this wasn't the mid 90s when I started out my legal career and the internet was first commercializing. This wasn't the 80s when Bill Gates founded Microsoft. Building products had already become cheaper and easier, and so many people had been trained up on how to do so. You differentiated yourself by selling, not by building, but we continued to deify the developer and vilify the salesperson. Why do we need a second-class status of founder? We are all founders. Why am I a non-technical founder? And I started looking around, and I couldn't find the Ruby on Rails of market development. I couldn't find the GitHub of sales. I couldn't find any education on sales, only product development. And at the same time, I had a mind to want to practice venture differently. There were things that didn't make sense to me. I questioned the business model. I questioned the behaviors. And that's when the idea came together to combine those two things, which is how do I systematize the expertise that I and my co-founders have with taking things to market. One of my co-founders at GrowthX, Will Bunker, is the founder of what became Match.com. So how do we take this extreme experience that we have of commercializing innovation and develop a system and a platform and a program and use it as a way to attract opportunities that we can diligence in a different way and then invest without having to raise too much capital and therefore have to write too many checks and therefore spend less time diligencing and also asking for higher valuations, and the whole system kind of gets messed up. So that was really the genesis of GrowthX and what would become GrowthX in mid 2015.
What a story! What a story! You definitely found a huge hole in the market and shored that up. And I just remembered, I think you said that when I heard you speak, but I forgot about that, how degrading that you're not a founder, you are a non-technical founder, you know? It's like you want to call the other people, well, you're a non-revenue generating founder then, right? I mean,
I mean, 100%. I mean, frankly, it's the same thing with calling someone female founder.
Right.
I'm not a male founder.
Right. Yep. Yeah.
It's just founders. Why do we feel the need to create these categories, and which creates divide?
Yeah.
I'm a founder. And oh, by the way, in the age of applied technology, your ability to sell is in many ways more important than your ability to build, because most of the founders now, like, listen, we're not looking and we're not investing in founders that are colonizing planets or curing diseases. That's different. That's the development of science. Right. We are the application of science. We're taking pre-existing technology and looking for different customer types and use cases to solve their problems. For a long time, that was B2B SaaS. Now it's, yes, B2B SaaS, but with AI, and at some point it's going to transition away from SaaS purely to AI. But again, even and especially with artificial intelligence, at the end of the day, what matters is not just a brute force attack to try to sell to every single person who might be interested and willing and able to buy your product, but to understand that not all revenue is created equally. And at the earliest stages of a company, you need to learn about where the most efficient path is to get to break even and profitability, and then decide on your future from there. Because I got to tell you, break even is a version of nirvana.
Yeah. Yep. No, it's super, super fantastic what you're doing. I wish you were around when I was 25 in 1995 and started my first company. So, but that being said, I've been called a salesman at heart, right? And probably much like you, back in the day, we're selling newspaper subscriptions. I was going house to house in my neighborhood, asking people if they needed their driveway shoveled, their car washed, their lawn cut, right? And always trying to be a little bit different. Instead of lemonade stand, I had an iced tea stand, right? So always trying to have a little. You might like this. When I was 6 years old, I went around the neighborhood to try to get people to pay me to shovel their driveway, but it was February break, so they already had somebody, right? They had a plow service, and I got to the end of my street, and I had no money, no customers, and then this is my 6-year-old entrepreneurial sales mind thinking. I said, Well, what if I went to the next street over and I used the fact that I'm a cute little 6-year-old kid and I would shovel the driveway first and then go to the door and say, hi, I shoveled your driveway. I'm David Mammano. And it worked. I came back with over $100 in my pocket in 1976, which was like $1,000 today, right?
Yeah. Well, so I had a very early growth hack that was similar, but came from a different angle when I was delivering in elementary school. And this was in Cleveland, Ohio during the winter. And so first of all, the work ethic of getting up in the morning on a Saturday or Sunday when I just wanted to be in bed and there was inches and inches of snow outside, and getting the bundle of newspapers and rolling them up and putting this rubber band around them and putting in my bag. That's a whole other conversation about that work ethic that I was taught, by my parents. But what I did is I would leave and this is a little cheeky, but we talked about that piss and vinegar. I would leave the instead of throwing it to their door, I would leave the newspaper at the edge of the walkway to the sidewalk that hadn't been snowplowed. And so I get complaints that they couldn't get to the paper because they couldn't get from their front door to the sidewalk because their walkway hadn't been plowed. And I said, well, I'd be happy to do that for you if you'd like me to. I'm not sure why it's not being done. I'm sure that's very dangerous for you. So I now picked up, not only am I delivering newspapers, but now I'm also shoveling walkways.
You created a need with your product.
I said it was a little bit cheeky, but it worked.
Right. I love it. Well, they also probably appreciated that you were just being a young entrepreneur, a creative guy at that age, with some good chutzpah.
Maybe. With chutzpah for sure.
Yep. I love it. Well, Andrew, this has been super, super fantastic. I learned even more about what you do. And it's such a great strategy, a great mission, and it's all coming from a very good place. It's just, you're leading with wanting to help. And that always turns out well for everybody. So congratulations on everything that you're doing. Again, if they want to learn more, best way to get in touch with you, GrowthX.com. Is that the best way?
Yeah, go to GrowthX.com. There's plenty of ways to ask for our help at GrowthX.com. Take advantage of the resources we have there to help you with your early stage sales challenges. And then again, reach out to us. Every email you send us is an invitation asking for us to RSVP and be the person you hope and want us to be a part of your life. We would appreciate the opportunity to be helpful to you.
Excellent, Andrew. Well, I am so glad I met you. So glad you were born. Thanks for doing what you're doing. And I wish you continued massive success.
Dave, thank you very much.
I know I'm going to see you again soon. I'm excited about that.
Yeah, I am.
Excellent. Well, thanks again, Andrew. And thank you, everybody, listeners, viewers, maybe you're doing both, for being a part of our podcast family here, David Mammano Show. I would be really happy if you loved us on all the socials. Just Google my name, The David Mammano Show, and also our website. Everything is there too, davidmammano.com. We'll love to make you an official part of our family. Come and like us and all that great stuff. Sign up for our newsletter, and you can get notices on everything that we're doing every week. Thanks again, everybody. And Andrew, thank you again. Everybody have a great day, and make sure to stay awesome.